All right, now the African Poultry Producers say it's fully behind the Competition Commission investigation into the poultry industry to address competition concerns. The Commission is ruffling feathers of the poultry industry as it probes allegations of anti-competitive practices in the poultry sector. It says the market inquiry aims to promote a more inclusive and dynamic sector with a focus on small and medium-sized enterprises and historically disadvantaged persons. However, the South African Poultry Association is not convinced about the Commission's decision. It says the investigation amounts to an attack on the sector. But African poultry producers say the chickens have come home to roost. It says the probe is long overdue as emerging farmers often face constraints when they're trying to make inroads into the poultry industry. For more on this matter, we are joined by African Poultry Producers Chief Executive Officer Kobedi Pilane, and he, of course, is going to give us his views on this. It's such a pleasure to have you. Thank you very, very much for your time.
Well, no, thank you, Leanne, for having us.
So Good, I'm so glad. Why are you saying that the Commission's probe into allegations of anti-competitive practices in the poultry sector is long overdue? What is actually happening?
Look, the industry is dominated by a few, and in that situation, you've got obvious allegations of price manipulation. Every time there is a shortage of day-olds, the small farmers, the emerging farmers are the first ones not to get any. And we believe that the situation is exacerbated by the fact that the industry is locked by a few, and access to the market is also restricted to a few by some other measures which sometimes we think are an overreach, trying to make sure that the industry is controlled and maintained by just a few players who are big in the industry. And we think that the Commission is well placed to find out if these allegations are just a smoke in a screen or there's real fire where the smoke is coming from. So we think if the industry is not having any foul play in the industry, in the whole economy of the poultry industry, they should let the Commission just do its job, and so that people can also be comfortable to say, okay, these allegations were unfounded.
Yeah.
So let the Commission do its job.
Indeed, and fair enough. The Commission needs to do its job, but there certainly is quite a worry that this could be almost the death knell to this particular industry, because after having gone through a power crisis, bird flu, water shortages, all of these kind of things, many are concerned, and particularly the big producers, that having an investigation like this and not being able to focus entirely on business as opposed to being investigated, this could really make a massive dent into business. What would be your response to them for having these thoughts?
No, these are just, there is a demand for poultry. Poultry is the biggest consumed source of protein. Eggs and chicken meat is the biggest consumed source of protein in the country. And there is nothing for the industry to be afraid of. People will always eat chicken. And we also have a shortage of almost 10 million chickens in the country per week. So there is room for import now because the industry is not performing at its full capacity as it should be, because the market is restricted to a few, and the price should normalize as soon as everybody is given a fair play, especially emerging farmers, given a fair play and a fair access to compete fairly in an open market. So there is nothing really that should scare the big players in the industry, even though
the big players are reporting massive losses. I mean, RCL, they're reporting losses, the first loss ever in 23 years. Quantum Foods reporting a 30 million rand loss. Many of them are reporting losses. So my question is, what could have actually prompted the Competition Commission to undertake this position and actually investigate the sector?
Well, if you remember, in 2019, the president signed what we call the poultry master plan, national poultry master plan. Now, this poultry master plan was actually just addressing what we call the broiler industry, where you got these chickens growing at 32 days. Now, the reason why the industry is investigated is that the master plan has failed. The implementing the transformation of industry. The industry is not transforming. Now, if you look at different segments of the value chain, you can see that there are places or areas of the value chain which are restricted, where blacks are non-existent or very few. So we've had a lot of complaints from black growers, where you find a lot of black players in the industry who are price takers, and they are also given high cost of feed. It hits them more. And for the big players to complain that they are not making profit, it's because they have actually created this situation. And I like how you opened this to say the chickens are coming home to roost. The industry is not growing because of the inefficiencies which are perpetuated by the big players. And government has tried to put measures with this master plan, and we've locked heads with the bigger players in the master plan implementation monitoring committee, and we haven't been able to move forward. So we've even said we cannot participate in this master plan because it's just a fuss which was created by the big players, and they've created the space, a safe zone for themselves, and created a space for us as small players to play where there's high risk and where we are just merely price takers, and we are like their growers, and they'll buy chickens and give us price for what they want us to be paid for per kilogram, and they earn 3, 4, 5 times from the market. So for them to complain that they're not making profit is their own creation, because they control most of the input and they control the market as well.
Yeah.
So
we
need to open this up. We need to open this up because there's opportunities to grow the industry, make it more profitable in this country, and then sell most of our products all over the continent, because other players like Brazil, they are taking up that market because they are growing their products cheaper, because they are open to better technologies. They are open to including other marginalized people in their countries, and they are making sure that they can feed themselves and make sure the price is fair in their own country, and then export.
Indeed.
Which they can
I want to ask you just a little bit more of a sort of focused question on the challenges that the small and medium-sized black farmers are facing at a time like this, because as I mentioned in my previous question, I mean, the big guys, the big three, are reporting losses and they are struggling. How many small producers have actually shut down because they just can't cope in this industry? And I think that would give us a great perspective as to what it is really like in this industry.
A lot are shutting down again, even as we speak, with load shedding, with the price of diesel, and with some inefficiencies from government being unable to support farmers properly. And we've tried to even come as APP to say to government, we can assist you in making sure that we help small farmers survive this period we've been going through. And now, what we have with the big players is that their losses are in some sectors, because they also have feed mills where they create feed for other farmers. So they report losses maybe in some areas like your chicken and your eggs, but they'll make more profit in their feed production for the flock, because they also sell to small players. So small players are hard hit, and we estimate about 20% of our small producers have closed down and closing down as we speak, both eggs and meat. And a few who are managing to stay on are those who are dealing with indigenous chickens, your couscous, your poach, and those chickens that don't rely too much on a controlled environment, where they can go out and scavenge and look for worms and everywhere. Those are the farmers who are actually coping, and we think that the industry government should also focus on and make sure we grow it, because the chicken is even performing better against the ailments that we see in controlled environments.
So are you able to, Kobedi, are you able to share how poultry product prices are determined within the sector?
Yeah, it's mostly the price of the grains, like your main grains are your maize, your soy, and we're importing most of the soy because we haven't been able to grow the soy at a more competitive price per hectare, like you see in Brazil. So we need to integrate our agriculture economy so much that we're able to see the need to have better cultivars for our soy in South Africa to grow better in our conditions. That is what keeps creating price surges, and also your fuel, because you have to transport your goods. It costs us more as farmers when diesel price goes up. And we have got generators which are relying on this price of fuel, because when load shedding hits, what must kick in is the generator which relies on diesel or other sources of fuel. And few farmers can afford to even put in solar as an alternative, also to make sure that they circumvent the long hours of load shedding, because the longer your generator burns, the more it costs you, and you still have to pay ESCOM. And so there's triple what do you call it? There's a triple hit. Energy.
It's really tough, and there's a lot being put up. And just very quickly, Kobedi, we've got to start wrapping the interview. But we've seen as consumers, and this is an important part that we need to ask you. I mean, eggs, chicken, it's way more expensive than a few months ago, and we understand why. You've explained it to us with this triple blow that you're having experienced. Many South African households are also battling financially, and this is a staple diet for many. How is this probe, do you imagine, going to impact prices?
I think the probe will tell us exactly what should the price of meat, poultry meat be, and what is driving the price. Is it fair or not? And the probe will also tell us whether we are paying a fair price for the eggs, and whether we should be paying less or not. And what we're hoping the probe will do is to also open up, especially regulators in the industry or government, to say the levies that the industry is paying should be focusing on making sure that we develop small players.
Okay.
Because the levy now is still controlled by the big players.
All right.
It shouldn't be like that.
Okay.
We need to determine where the levy goes.
Indeed. Let's leave it there. Let's leave it there. But we think we've got a good idea of where you stand, Kobedi. Thank you very much. Kobedi Pilane is the African Poultry Producers Chief Executive Officer.